begin with breaking news at noon. The Miami Dolphins fired head coach Mike McDaniel. The team announcing owner Stephen Ross told McDaniel the news this morning.
7 phone calls, 45 minutes, 6 vacant head coaching jobs? Do the math. Someone's lying. When John Harbaugh got fired on Tuesday, 7 NFL teams called his agent within 45 minutes. But there were only 6 head coaching vacancies, which means one team with a current head coach was already planning their next move. 48 hours later, Mike McDaniel was fired. And when you see the evidence I'm about to show you, you'll realize this was the most calculated coaching assassination in NFL history. Let's start with what we thought we knew. Black Monday, January 5th, 2026. 6 coaches get fired. The Jets, Giants, Raiders, Browns, Cardinals, and Titans all made moves. But Miami? Complete silence. Mike McDaniel survived. That night, the Dolphins send out 6 general manager interview requests. Every single candidate connected to Mike McDaniel. His coaching tree, his system, his guys. Names like Bobby Slowick, Ran Carthon, and others from the San Francisco organization. The media reaction was unanimous. McDaniel is safe. They're building around him. Dolphins fans were either relieved or frustrated, depending on who you asked, but the message was clear. Continuity was the plan. And then, Tuesday morning happened. 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Baltimore fires John Harbaugh, Super Bowl champion, 180 career wins, 18 seasons with the Ravens. Gone. Now here's where your brain should break. ESPN's Adam Schefter reports that within 45 minutes of Harbaugh getting fired, his agent received 7 phone calls from NFL teams. Let me count the vacancies with you. The Giants need a coach. That's 1. Falcons, 2. Raiders, 3. Browns, 4. Cardinals, 5. Titans, 6. But 7 teams called. That means somewhere in the NFL, an owner with a current head coach had John Harbaugh's agent on speed dial. They knew he was getting fired before the public did. They were waiting. The question is, who? Before I tell you who I think it was, you need to understand something about the owner of the Miami Dolphins, because this man has been hunting the Harbaugh family for 15 years. Stephen Ross, 84 years old, owner of the Miami Dolphins since 2009, but more importantly, one of the biggest donors in University of Michigan history. We're talking $313 million donated. The business school is literally named after him. He doesn't just love Michigan, he is Michigan. You know who coached Michigan from 2015 to 2021? Jim Harbaugh, John's little brother. And this is where the obsession begins. Let's rewind to January 2011. The Dolphins employ a head coach named Tony Sparano. He's under contract, just finished 7-9, not great, but he's their coach. Stephen Ross gets on a private jet to California. ESPN reports Ross is making an urgent pitch to Jim Harbaugh, who was coaching Stanford at the time. He's offering $60 million over 8 years. That would have made Jim the highest paid coach in football by far. There's just one problem. Ross still has a head coach. Tony Sparano finds out his boss is trying to replace him by reading ESPN, not from Ross, from the media. Cold-blooded. But here's the thing. Jim Harbaugh turned Ross down. He went to San Francisco instead. Ross fired Sparano anyway. Strike 1. Ross doesn't get his Harbaugh. Fast forward to 2019. Adam Gase is Miami's head coach. The team is terrible. Ross is desperate. The Palm Beach Post reports that Stephen Ross had, quote, a burning interest in John Harbaugh. But John's locked up in Baltimore, just made the playoffs, untouchable. Strike two. Now it's 2026. Ross is 84 years old. He's owned the Dolphins for 17 years. You know how many playoff games Miami has won in that time? 0. Not a single one. Miami's last playoff win was January 2000, 26 years ago. Ross is running out of time. And on Tuesday morning, January 6th, 2026, John Harbaugh finally became available. Third time's the charm? Here's where this goes from suspicious to obvious. Hours after John Harbaugh gets fired, the Miami Dolphins send out one more general manager interview request. Number 7, Chad Alexander, currently the assistant GM of the Los Angeles Chargers, working under Jim Harbaugh. Interesting connection. But wait, there's more. Chad Alexander spent 20 years with the Baltimore Ravens. From 2008 to 2019, 11 years, he worked directly alongside John Harbaugh as the assistant director of player personnel. This man knows exactly how John Harbaugh builds a team, what kind of players he wants, what kind of culture he creates. They worked together for over a decade. Let me connect the dots for you. Monday night, 6 GM requests. All McDaniel guys. Tuesday morning, Harbaugh gets fired. Tuesday afternoon, they immediately request Harbaugh's former right-hand man. If you hire Chad Alexander as GM and John Harbaugh as head coach, you get a package deal. Instant chemistry. They've already worked together for 11 years. They know each other's philosophies. It's plug and play. Wednesday, Ross meets with McDaniel. ESPN calls it, quote, very conflicted. Thursday morning, Mike McDaniel is fired. 48 hours, that's how long McDaniel lasted after John Harbaugh became available. You still think this is a coincidence? But wait, it gets even crazier because Miami has done this exact thing before. The Miami Dolphins are a young franchise desperate for legitimacy. They want a proven winner. They set their sights on a coach dominating with another team. His name? Don Shula. And where was he coaching? The Baltimore Colts. Miami pursued Shula aggressively, tampered with him, stole him from Baltimore. The Colts were so furious, Commissioner Pete Rozelle forced Miami to give up a first-round pick as compensation. But it was worth it. Don Shula led Miami to 2 Super Bowls, including the only perfect season in NFL history, 17-0 in 1972. His .659 career winning percentage is the best in Dolphins history. You know whose winning percentage would be second best if he came to Miami? John Harbaugh, .614. If Ross steals Harbaugh from Baltimore, he's literally running the same playbook from 1970. Steal a Super Bowl winning coach from Baltimore, win championships. History doesn't repeat itself, but it sure as hell rhymes. Let me be clear. Mike McDaniel wasn't a bad coach. Back-to-back playoff appearances for the first time in 23 years. #1 offense in 2023. He fixed Tua Tagovailoa's confidence after Brian Flores broke him. His players loved him. His press conferences were legendary. But here's the problem. 0-2 in the playoffs. Both blowout losses. 4-17 against teams with winning records since 2022. 4th worst in the entire NFL. And Miami hasn't won a playoff game in 26 years. Not since the year 2000. Stephen Ross is 84 years old. He doesn't have time for potential. He doesn't have time for development. When you've spent 15 years chasing the Harbaugh family, when your franchise hasn't won a playoff game since Y2K, when the perfect coach finally becomes available, you pull the trigger. Even if it means firing a coach 48 hours after he survived Black Monday. So here's my answer to the mystery. Which team was the 7th caller? I can't prove it with 100% certainty,
but every single piece of evidence points to Miami. The timeline, the Chad Alexander connection, Ross's 15-year obsession, the Don Shula parallel, the 48-hour execution. Mike McDaniel didn't lose his job because he failed. He lost it because Stephen Ross found his white whale. Sometimes in the NFL, you're not competing against other coaches. You're competing against an owner's obsession. The only question now is, will Miami actually get him? Or will history repeat again and someone else swoops in like San Francisco did in 2011? Either way, this might be the wildest coaching story of the decade, and we got to watch it happen in real time. If this breakdown made you see the story differently, hit the like button. Subscribe if you want more NFL investigations like this, and drop a comment. Do you think Miami was the seventh caller, and should they go all in on Harbaugh? Or was firing McDaniel a mistake? Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.